Today we're back on my little privet that's been growing well for the last couple of years. It's been growing in this little blue pot pretty much the whole time, and really I've just let it grow out and pruned it back when it looks too long and slowly turned into this. Some of the branches need pulled down, but I'm not too worried about that. For now the goal is just to turn it into a little bush, and pruning it often is helping with that, which is what I'm doing here. I just push back every branch to about 2 or 3 sets of leaves, and then it will divide into 2 new branches from there, and over time this will make it get more dense of branches. This was also basically started as a twig, so while it's still a small trunk, it's thickened up quite a lot over the years. It's far from perfect, but I think it's developing well so far. Privet is also pretty aggressive, grows fast, which you can see here. This tree is also under the grow light, so I'm sure that helps things. But these are very common garden hedges around here, and they grow fast and dense. By the time it gets to September, I just leave my trees alone. If they want to grow, that's fine, but I don't prune them. Most things will be slowing down right now, so it's better to leave them alone. Although this tree does seem to put on a little burst before it shuts down for winter. I'm lowering the light levels at this time, but it's still inside, so it's pretty warm. I do put it in the shed in December though, to make sure it does get some cold. And as tempting as it is to try and keep it inside all year round, it's not designed for that. It'd be kind of like trying to keep yourself awake for days on end. It's just not going to end well. You need to rest, and so do the trees. So after this, it went out to the shed to relax. And then at the end of February, I brought it back inside. It's dormant here. Even if it doesn't look it, it's an evergreen, so it's always going to have some leaves. Anyway, I pruned it back here just to get it ready for the spring growth. I just did the same as before, just shortened everything back. Privet is very well behaved. It generally will send out 2 new shoots where you prune. You don't end up with loads of random shoots popping up in places you don't want. So you don't really need to remove much. Every now and again you might, but most of pruning it's just shortening things back. Then in March, I'm just waiting for it to wake up so I can repot it, which shouldn't be too much longer. Now it's back inside. So here all the new spring buds have started to swell and they're about to open, so it's the perfect time to work on things. But first I need to get out the pot, which luckily isn't too hard. The pot has quite a good shape so it can slip out. It's tight but came out easy enough. And you can see it's a pretty dense root ball, which should be no surprise. It is an aggressive grower in a small pot. This will probably take a while to sort out. I started by just trying to remove the top layer of soil, which is mostly moss and pretty dense soil. After I got a lot of that off, you can see there's a pretty good chunk there. For growing in a small pot, it's looking pretty good. I'm just brushing the moss off the trunk here. It can cause damage in the long run, so it's best to try and keep that under control. Although it is a constant battle, moss just seems to love trunks. And then trying to rake this out took a lifetime. But you can start to see him getting it untangled, and some of the roots are very long. This root ball is actually pretty good once I get it untangled. The little pot really doesn't do it any favours. I'd love to grow it like a shallow wide pot. Basically like something like the seed tray I'm using here to catch all the soil. I think growing this tree in something like that would get great results. But as always, there's no space for such fun. I think I've got all the soil out here. You can see they're long, but it's quite a flat root plane. Just needs shortened back. You'll see the pruning is pretty easy and it very quickly starts to look very good. It's nice and compact and flat. You can start to see the root flares forming nicely, and all in that little pot. Makes you really wonder what would happen if it was in something else. Anyway, the little pot's done well, so I'll use it again, which also means I have no other options or space, so I'll just have to go back in here. It is starting to look a little tight though, so stays may be numbered, but for now I'll be fine. Also, a lot of the time I don't show the part where I work the soil into the roots with a stick, but you can't skip this. Doing this really helps the soil get around the roots and makes it more stable. Obviously I'm showing it here, but you'll see what happens when you don't do it properly. I barely touched that and it fell over. Your tree will be very unstable, so don't skip that step. So that was annoying, and I had to start over again, but here in April it's looking nice and healthy. All the buds are starting to look really open now. When the tree's looking like this, really full of leaves, you can really see its future potential. In May it's gone crazy, and it's healthy enough that you can prune it back, so that's what I did. Hopefully all this top growth will have helped recover the roots and it will really start to take root in the pot. Everything can feel a bit fragile for a few weeks, even if you do make sure the soil is in there properly, and even if you wire the tree in the pot. Some good root growth is the best way to really get the tree to grip the soil properly. I'll probably wire it soon, once I feel like it's properly solidly gripping the pot. You don't want to add pressure to a branch only for the whole tree to come flying out of the pot. I think when you see it here afterwards, you can really see a few branches just need pulled down a few degrees. I think that will make a huge difference. And here we are now, where it's looking like it's already starting to push out some new growth, and we'll need pruned again soon. Thanks for watching, see you next time.